Hey, welcome to Relating Relationships again with Desmond Uvusumuzo Nkosi uDlamini okunene sidlubuladlele salobamba. Still uHlubi Lomuhle. Thank you guys so much for allowing me the time once again to be in your screens. We have not recorded for some time and we just want to apologize for that. We know there's people who've been coming to see what's there. Is there anything that has been posted? Is there anything new? I just want to apologize for that. I hope you'll forgive us and you will welcome us back into your home. Thank you so much. Again, I think today I just want to take the relationship corner and take it to marriage corner. That's what I'm going to call it. I want to talk a bit about marriage. I just want us to have this conversation about marriage, and this comes from what I've observed about myself. I've been married for 18 years, going for 19 years now. Yes, I can hear some of you clapping. Thank you. Others are like, so long. Yes, so long. I've been married for going 19 now with my wife, Uteri Nkosi, and I was just looking back at our lives and what we've gone through. And one of the things that stood up for me was the importance of focus in marriage. But it's focus in any area of our lives, right? The importance of focus. What does focus bring? And most of the time when we talk about focus, we always talk about the positive side of focus. We never talk about the negative side. But we also know that there's nothing that doesn't have two sides. Everything has two sides. And I think we need to understand that part. Everything has two sides. So even focus has two sides. Has the positive and the negative. So I just want to have this conversation about focus. And how has focus affected your relationships? How has focus affected your marriage? Has it affected your marriage? Have you focused on something? Do you even know, or do you even pay attention when you are focusing? Are you aware that you're focusing? Right? So, I want to start with this statement that says, focus creates blindness. How many of you agree with that statement? I've heard it so many times and I believe it so much. Focus creates blindness. You see, at this point in time, I'm focusing on the camera in front of me, and I'm looking at you. I'm focusing on you. And when I focus hard enough, I'm gonna be blind of what is happening here at the back. I don't see what's happening. So for me to see what's happening here, I have to move my focus. Now I can see my hand. But when I'm looking there, this focus here has made this blind. Right? And the fact that I'm blind of it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But it doesn't interfere with my focus. Right? So in marriage, what is it that you've been focusing on? What is it that you are paying attention to? And in paying attention to that, what are you blind to? I heard somebody the other day was talking about, they were asking him to say, you are married, you are a father, and you run businesses. How do you balance all of them? And he said something which was interesting, which was focus. He says he's learned that when he's focused on the business, he's probably not doing well as a father and as a husband. But when he focuses on being a husband, he's probably blind to being a father and a businessman. So what he's learned is, when it's time to focus on something, he gives his whole focus on that. So if today he's focusing on business, then he gives his whole focus on business. But he's aware that there's something else that he's not focusing on. So what is it that you are focusing on in your marriage that is affecting your marriage negatively? Remember, I said we always speak about the positive. But what is it that you're focusing on that's affecting your marriage negatively? Let us agree that each and every person has positive aspects of There's positive aspects of that person, and that same person will have negative aspects, right? Every person has the things that are negative that he's aware of. I'm aware of certain things that are negative in my life, right? I'm aware of them. There are those that I am not aware of, but others around me are aware of those, and I don't like that. that one is one of those things that is like, I want to be in control, but you can never be in control fully. So there's weaknesses that you have as a person that you know that these are my weaknesses. There's weaknesses that you have as a person that others know that you don't know. And there's also those ones that you know you have them, and others know that you have them, right? With that again said, then we need to understand that the person that I'm married to, if they've got the positive aspects of their lives and the negative aspect of their lives, or the positive aspect of their character and the negative aspect of their character, what I focus on will grow. What you give focus to will also grow. It creates blindness, but then it grows. So what you focus on in your partner, that is what's going to grow. If then that is true, that each person has the negative and the positive. So, for example, I've spoken to somebody, and I ask this question all the time when I speak to young people, and I say, do you want to get married one day? It's like, yes. What kind of a person are you looking for? And then they'll say, no, I want somebody who is this, somebody who's that, and somebody, for me, for example, I used to say, I need somebody who's kind. That's my focus. I need somebody who's kind. So when I find somebody who's kind, what am I not focusing on? Right? What am I blind to? But the truth of the matter is, if I focus on kindness, then my focus grows. And I see that person more and more being kind, right? But I must not be ignorant that I can have somebody who is kind, but maybe has a weakness in terms of, I want to give a big one, like lying. Like somebody who's got a weakness of never keeping time. This person never keeps time. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation whereby you go for an important appointment. You get late not because you were late. You get there late because somebody else has made you late. So this person is kind, but then there's this negative, which is being late. So if my focus is on kind, I'm going to be blind to being late. But if I move my focus from kindness to the fact that this person never keeps time, then I become blind to that which was important. But then my question is always being, then what is it that is building in this case? Is the kindness building? And I'm not saying be ignorant of people's weaknesses. You must pay attention more to people's characters and the negative part of them before you marry them. That you must do. You must pay attention so that when you get into this marriage, remember, if you go back to part of our videos, we spoke about the importance of background check. Right? If you pick it up at that level, then you'll be aware, do I want to live with this? Can I carry on with this? Can I deal with this? But once you're married, now you need to get to a point where I was talking to a couple and we're doing counseling, and they were going back and forth. And this is what usually happens in counseling. One of the people would want you to take their side. And this is where the struggle always becomes, because as a counselor, I'm not there to take anyone's side, right? So while they were going, I asked them a question, and this is a question that I ask everybody now when we do counseling. I ask myself that question. The question is, are you building or are you destroying? Is what you are focusing on building or destroying? So you are both here in front of me for counseling. Do you want me to help you in building? Do you want me to help you in destroying? So when I asked them the question, I said, are you guys building or are you destroying? What's the focus? It's almost as if they were in a trance and they got out of a trance. Because then they realized that they were both focusing on what is negative. They were both focusing on hating each other. They were both focusing on proving themselves right and the other person wrong. And then my question then was, when you started this relationship, what was the focus? When I met my wife, my focus when we were dating was to always make her happy. I'll find ways of making her happy. I'll think of ideas to make her happy. You know, I'll buy flowers, I'll buy gifts. Every time I wanted to give, that was my focus, because my focus was I want this person to be happy. I did everything I could to give. My focus was to give. I remember after we got married and I was thinking about all these ideas and stuff, and I saw, I think it was a video, but the idea was I bought these stars. So they glow in the night, right? So I took them and I stick them in the ceiling. And I wrote, I love you, you know. And I didn't tell her about them. Obviously, during the day, she was not paying attention. She would not see them. And then at night, if I remember, I think she only saw them. I can't remember. But what the idea here was, I was coming with ideas. My mind was working because I wanted to make this person happy. Everything in me directed to, how do I make this person happy? How do I give to this person? And then I realized when we started having our own fights, disagreements, and stuff, now I look back and I realized they started when I changed the focus from giving to getting. What am I getting out of this thing? Now I'm always giving. When is she giving? You know? So when I've changed my focus from giving to wanting to get, then remember, I said to you when I was giving, even my ideas, my brain was part of it. You know, my whole being was part of it. Now when I move from that direction to another direction with the same focus, just imagine what's going to happen. So you want somebody who's kind. Yes, maybe he's kind, but is he a good listener? What are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on that which is negative? And the question is, if you do, how is it helping you? How does it make you feel? I spoke about this before, that my wife taught me this soon after we got married, that if we argued about something and we could not find a resolution at that time, she would change the topic and we'll talk about something else. And I remember exactly, I think the first time this happened, we were driving somewhere. And we had an argument, and then she changed the topic. And initially I was like, no ways, you are not changing. I didn't say this out loud, but in my, it's like, you are not changing this conversation. You are not changing this conversation. I am right, you are wrong. And then I wanted to carry on with the conversation. And my focus was, I wanted to prove that I was right and she was wrong, at the cost of the trip. So we could have driven 3 hours and not have fun and miss out on the beauty of traveling and seeing the scenery, the scenic views that are outside the windows of the car. That would have all disappeared because I wanted to focus on proving myself right. So she'll change the topic, my wife, and then we'll talk about something else. And then now, where I am now, 19 years of marriage, now when that happens, when we argue and we don't get a resolution, and now my focus is, okay, I'm changing the conversation. right? For the sake of the peace now. And her focus is like, I'm changing this conversation for the sake of the peace now. Now, whoever changes the conversation first, the next person must follow. So if my wife changes the conversation, then my focus is, let me follow onto this conversation. just recently, this is just, I've just shared it, just recently, we're driving back from Limpopo. This is where my wife comes from. So we're driving back, and I've got the aircon on. And then my wife decides, no, it's too cold for this aircon. So she switches it off, right? And then what I do, I switch it on. And then she switches it off. And I was like, but I'm feeling hot, you know, and I'm the driver. I'm the most important person here in this place. I must be comfortable. And she was, no, we must all be comfortable in the car. I was like, no, we don't all have to be comfortable in this car. If I sleep, you're all gonna sleep forever. And so she pressed the button and switched off the aircon. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna open the windows. Now we're on the freeway. So, and my sister was with us, so she was sitting at the back. So I opened the windows. Now we've got all this noise that's coming in. Oh God. Now there's so much noise now. There's so much air coming in, there's so much noise that's coming in. And I'm like, I'm not gonna put these things up until she switches it back on. And after some time, I'm like, okay, somebody has to give in here. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna give in. So I was like, babes, can you please switch the aircon on? And then she says to me, can you close the windows? So I close the windows. She's one. I close the windows. And then she switches on the aircon. And then for a moment, it's awkward in the car. My sister, it was interesting actually to talk to her, because she was sitting at the back, she was just quiet, even with the air, because I've opened the two front windows, so the whole air was going to her, but she was just quiet. And now that we are both aware that it's awkward, then it becomes, then how do I change this awkwardness? My focus is, what is it that can I say or bring up in this conversation? So what happens is, my favorite car drives past, and I'm like, wow, look at my car, right? And then she says, wow, and it's a favorite color. And then we have a conversation. But this doesn't just happen automatically. It's both of us focusing on what is building in our relationship. So if he's not a good listener, but he's kind, and kindness is what you're drawn to, how is it that you can help her in or him in being a good listener without taking your focus off the kindness? Somebody said to me, I want to marry somebody who's smart. A few years down the line, smart was not working anymore. And my question was, what is it that you are focusing on now that is making smartness not work? And it's true, I agree. I'm not saying if there's one thing that you're focusing, you must not move the focus. I'm saying if you move the focus, you must know why you're moving it. And you must know there's consequences in moving a focus. So what is it that you're focusing on in your relationship? He gained weight, she gained weight. You know, like little things like that. Let me leave it here. But I would love to hear your views on this. Am I even making sense? Because you know, sometimes I'm sitting here and I'm talking to this camera, and luckily enough I've got my producer behind who always gives signal to say, yeah, this is a good one or something, you know, which helps. But I would like to get feedback. I would like to hear what you guys are saying. What do you guys think? Am I off course? Is there something that I'm saying that is helping? I would love to hear from you. This is me again, in relating relationships. Thank you so much for giving me this time. See you again.
On you we rely, yeah. On you.